do a tiny experiment. Don't open your texts. Don't open your inbox. Open the place you almost never curate. Your photo gallery. Scroll without judging yourself. What shows up first? A few selfies. Random screenshots. A meal you forgot you ate. And then almost always them. A small face. A sleeping body curled into a comma. A blurry photo because you didn't want to move and wake them. If you've ever said, "I don't want kids," you might still be telling the truth. Just, not the whole truth. Because your storage doesn't fill up with things that don't matter. Your camera roll is the most honest diary you own. So here's the real question. If you didn't want a child, why did your nervous system build a parent-shaped home around this creature? Let's talk about that. Photos aren't just memories. They're proof of what your brain considers important. You document what you're bonded to, what you're afraid to lose, what you want to freeze in time. And if you look closely, you'll notice something else. Your pet isn't just an animal you have. They're a living reference point your day keeps checking. You plan around feeding. You listen for certain sounds at night. You feel a small tug of worry when you're away too long. You soften the second you see them. That softening matters. That warmth you feel when you see their face? That's not you being dramatic. That's physiology. Long before you used words like pet parent, your body had already made a decision. When you look at your pet and feel that rush warmth, calm, focus, your brain releases bonding chemicals, including oxytocin, the same hormone strongly associated with attachment and caregiving. This isn't poetry. It's biology. Your nervous system doesn't organize love by species. It organizes love by patterns. Proximity plus repetition plus safety plus dependence. Every walk. Every meal. Every "what was that sound" at 3 a.m. Every time they needed you and you showed up. Your brain watched the consistency and quietly filed it under. Family. That's why calling it pretend misses the point. Pretend is a performance you choose. This bond is an automatic process that happens below language. And in one weird way, it can even feel cleaner than many human relationships. Humans come with subtext. Negotiation. Mixed signals. With a pet, the signal is simple. Care goes out. Trust comes back. Again. And again. And again. There's something about human parenting people rarely say out loud. If you raise a human child in a healthy way, your job is to love them toward separation. You teach them to walk so they can walk away. You teach them to speak so they can disagree with you. You build them into someone who will eventually need you less. That's not failure. That's the point. But it also means there's a quiet ache built into the whole design. The relationship changes. Closeness shifts. The center doesn't hold forever. A pet offers a different kind of bond. Not better. Not worse. Just different. They don't grow up and move out. They don't develop new allegiances that slowly relocate your importance. They don't outgrow being delighted that you came home. For a nervous system that learned early that connection is fragile, that people can disappear, that love can be inconsistent, that stability is not a small thing. It can feel like finally owning a relationship where the door doesn't keep threatening to swing shut. Notice how little vigilance you need around them. Notice how your shoulders drop. That isn't childish. That is regulation. Have you ever felt something so adorable it almost hurts? You want to squeeze them. Nibble their ears. Say their name in a voice that doesn't belong to any adult you've ever met. That has a name, cute aggression. It sounds alarming, but it's usually your brain trying to manage emotional overload. When something is intensely cute, your system floods with bonding chemicals. Warmth, focus, attachment. Cute aggression is like a pressure release valve. It keeps your body from getting overwhelmed by its own affection. And pets trigger this intensely because of something called baby schema. Big eyes, rounder faces, small noses, clumsy movements. Your brain has ancient wiring that reads those cues as protect this. Keep it alive. Human children grow out of those cues. Pets don't. Many stay baby-coated their entire lives. So even if you don't want human children, your biology can still light up like a parent's. Not because you're confused. Because you're human. Human attachment can be beautiful. And complicated. Even in good relationships, there's interpretation. What did they mean by that? Why did their tone change? Are they mad? Did I do something wrong? For people who grew up with unpredictable affection, where love was conditional, withdrawn, or earned, connection can feel like constant monitoring. Your nervous system learns to scan faces, moods, silences, shifts. Pets remove a lot of that cost. They don't punish you for being tired. They don't hold grudges like a ledger. They don't make you prove you deserve them. Psychologically, this can become what attachment theory calls a secure base. A place your system uses to downshift. Your pet doesn't require you to perform. They reward presence. And once you experience love that doesn't demand armor, your body starts to understand that safety is possible. There's a stereotype about people who treat pets like family. That's a void. That's because they couldn't have a real life. That's because something's missing. Often, it's the opposite. A lot of deeply bonded pet people are high-capacity nurturers. They notice everything. They remember details. They check in. They care in a world that doesn't always reward caring. And here's the modern reality. For many millennials and Gen Z, traditional paths for caregiving feel blocked. Housing is expensive. Work is unstable. The future feels like it's always changing the rules. But the instinct to care doesn't disappear just because the conditions are harsh. It looks for a place to live. A pet becomes a way to express devotion, responsibility, tenderness, without being financially or emotionally crushed by an impossible standard. It's not avoidance. It's calibration. I have love to give. And I'm choosing a form where it can survive. That's not small. That's intelligent. There's another layer here, and it's harder to admit, because it lives closer to anxiety. Raising a human is unpredictable. You can do everything right and still lose control of outcomes. Children grow into their own will. They choose paths you can't manage. With a pet, the world is smaller. You choose the routine. You choose the food. You shape the boundaries. You create the safety. For someone whose life feels chaotic, that can be grounding. And it can be healthy or exhausting, depending on what drives it. Here's the difference. Structure soothes. Control tries to erase uncertainty. If you notice yourself spiraling into perfection, obsessing over schedules, diet, constant monitoring, it may not be about your pet at all. It may be your nervous system trying to prove something is safe because I'm in charge. That doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human. The question isn't whether you love them. The question is your care coming from steadiness? Or from fear? Because safety built on care is sustainable. Safety built on panic is a fire you have to keep feeding. From the outside, pet parenting can look the same. Special food. Vet anxiety. Routines. Baby talk. But underneath, the needs can be very different. A. The sentinel. You're always scanning. You notice the tiny changes. A skipped meal, a different posture, a slower walk. When they're okay, your body is okay. You love like someone who understands how fast life can turn. Be the confidant. Your pet isn't just cared for. They're close. You talk to them. Time with them restores you more than most social settings. Humans often require performance. Your pet requires honesty. You're drawn to quiet depth. See, the restorer. Maybe you rescued them. Maybe they arrived afraid, neglected, unprotected. Caring for them feels like rewriting a story. Each gentle moment becomes evidence that pain isn't the final chapter. And yes, sometimes you're healing yourself while you heal them. D. The architect. Structure calms you. But if fear drives it, care can harden into rigidity. This isn't a moral failing. It's a signal. Most people are a blend. And knowing what leads you can change how you love. Without taking the love away. There's a moment most pet people recognize. It's the way you speak to them when you're alone. You're okay. I've got you. You're safe. Listen closely to that tone. For many people, that voice wasn't something they received. It's something they're learning to create. Psychology has a word for this: reparenting. Giving, in adulthood, what was missing earlier. Patience, protection, emotional steadiness. When you soothe them during thunderstorms. When you reassure them after a scary sound. When you celebrate tiny milestones no one else would notice. You're not just meeting their needs. You're practicing a kind of caregiving your nervous system may not have been taught to expect. And every time you offer safety outward, your body learns a quiet lesson. Safety exists. Gentleness exists. Love can be consistent. That's why the bond can feel so deep. It isn't just a pet. It's a relationship where your system finally gets to be soft. When a pet dies, something breaks that many people can't see. It's not just the absence in the house. It's the disappearance of a role your body lived inside every day. Your brain doesn't process it as losing an animal. It processes it as losing a daily attachment. The routines vanish. The reflexes remain. You still listen for their footsteps. You still reach without thinking. You still expect the tiny sounds your day was built around. There's a term for this kind of loss: disenfranchised grief. Grief that society doesn't fully validate. So when someone says, "It was just a dog," they're speaking from language. Not from the nervous system. Your body knows what it lost. It lost family. And here's the quieter truth. Love doesn't end where the body ends. The bond reshaped you. How you attach, how you protect, how you care. That becomes part of your inner architecture. You carry it into future relationships. Into how you speak to yourself. Into what you now believe love can be. So no, the real question isn't, why do I love them this much? The real question is, what part of you needed a bond that felt safe enough to finally relax? What part of you needed a relationship without mind games? What part of you needed to practice gentleness and have it returned? If you've ever loved an animal like family, you're not strange. You're attached. You're wired for care. You're human. And your camera roll has been telling the truth the whole time. Short pause. If this spoke to you, share your story. What they've taught you, what they repaired in you, what you'll always carry. You're not alone.